friends, it's Bethany. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I am having fun with some repetitive stamping using the Misti stamping platform. I am going to go ahead and grab my larger Misti. I have the larger Misti and the mini Misti, but for this particular repetitive stamping technique, it's better to use the larger one. I'm using these brand new stamps from Simon Says Stamp that I'll link down below. They sent them over and I was really excited to receive these because I think this stamp set is so fun to use. Now I'm going to just position my first stamp in place, and I'm going to use the same stamp to create an entire panel. This is going to be really, really fun. So the first color I want to bring in is Cheeky by Simon Says Stamp. It's a really, really fun color, and I'm just going to ink up that stamp, and I'm going to go ahead and just stamp that right down onto my panel. Now this is 80-pound cardstock. It's super, super nice, and everything I use will be down in that description box below. I will go ahead and double stamp everything that I'm doing today just to get the nice color that I want, but that looks perfect to me. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep my stamp in place, but I'm going to move my paper. Well, right now I'm doing about 1 1/4 inch, but as you can see in a moment, I go ahead and kind of get my stamp in place and I realize I need to move it a little bit more. So my final movement is going to be over 1 1/2 inches, and I like the look of that much better. So once I decide that that looks good, I'm going to ink up my stamp and I'm going to place that down, and then you're going to see that nice stamp perfectly right next to it. And when you don't move your stamp but you just move your paper, it's nice because you can get even lines and everything will be placed just perfectly. It's so nice. So again, I double stamped that. Then I cleaned off my stamp. I pushed my paper back into position, but this time I'm going to move it up 1 1/2 inches. Then I'll place my magnet down. But before I go ahead and stamp with my next color, I decided to put a piece of washi tape down just because I don't have a corner that I'm nudging this into. So I wanted to make sure that my paper does truly stay into position. This time I'm going to bring in Melon. This is a really fun color. So I'll just ink up my stamp and then I will stamp it right down. So again, because I'm not moving the stamp but only moving the paper, my stamp is staying in that nice position, and I'm guaranteed that I'm going to have everything nice and evenly spaced. So again, everything is double stamped. I really like that color. And now I'm going to keep it 1 1/2 inches up, but I will move it 1 1/2 inches over. Do you see how I did that? It's really, really easy. Once you have your measurements down, you're just going to repeat them. That way you have even placement between everything. But then of course I do double check it just to make sure. I like to double check and make sure that my math is really good. Although my daughter, she's learning some really, well, I guess more complex math right now, and I'm really having fun with it because math is my jam. I love it so much. So this is a fun little activity for me as well because I really love measurements and math, and it's really fun to bring that into crafting as well. So I'll double stamp that nice melon color again. I really like the color when it has 2 layers on it. It's so pretty. And then I'll have my final look for my second little line there, or column. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is I have my stamp all cleaned up, and I am going to move another 1 1/2 inches up, which places me at 3 inches. And I'm going to still use that washi tape just to make sure everything is nice and placed in there. We'll just double it up with that magnet, double check that the stamp is indeed in position, and this time we'll use the color Lemonade. This is a fun color as well. It is more yellow for some reason. My camera likes to make it look a little bit more lime green, but it is a nice true yellow. So I'm going to stamp that once and then twice, and it looks so pretty. Let me know if you have tried repetitive stamping with your Misti. This is so fun. It's something that I want to do more and more, and every once in a while you just find a stamp set that really lends well to this technique, and I think this stamp set is absolutely one of them. You'll definitely have to check it out. Okay, leaving it at that 3-inch mark, I'm going to move it to the right 1 1/2 inches. That way my last little stamp lines up perfectly. So again, using that washi tape to make sure everything is in alignment, and then I'll also use my magnet. I just like to double check that everything is in its spot. And then again, you guessed it, I'm going to stamp it once and twice and make sure that I have the color that I want. Everything is nice and even, and that will finish up my panel. I really like this technique. It's super fun. I can't wait to kind of explore this a little bit more with some other stamp sets, but it's super easy, super fun, and I love how this turns out. Plus, everything's nice and even. Now I'm going to go ahead and grab my A2 layer die, and this is really nice because it helps you visualize where center is, and I ran it through my Gemini Junior and cut out my panel. So that looks so pretty. I love that final look. Isn't that nice? So here is where things kind of go south, and I left this in the video because honestly, I feel like leaving mistakes in is so helpful, and you guys have told me time and time again that it's so helpful, but I grabbed this hello die, and what I was thinking was my first inclination was making an eclipse card, and I wanted to cut out my little hellos from each layer, and then what I did is I cut out some additional layers using 130 pound, I think, 130 pound cardstock to really get that bumped up behind it. So what I did is each hello is going to have 2 layers of 130 pound cardstock underneath, and then I'm going to place that colorful layer on the top. So I'm going ahead and using my Barely Arts glue, I'm adding that final layer to the top, and my intention here is to nestle that right back into those openings to make an eclipse card. Before that though, I need to make my card base, so I'm bringing in my Score Buddy with a piece of 110 pound cardstock measuring 11 by 4 1/4 and placing my score line right at 5.5, and then I'll have my top folding A2 size card, which is all ready to go. Once I have that all creased and ready, I'm going to apply that on my craft mat using these little magnets, that way nothing shifts, and then I'll add some foam tape to the back of my panel. Now I'm going to add foam tape quite close to one another because I want to make sure that, well, I guess it's my intention to use that foam tape as the adhesive for my little letters. I thought I could do that, although I will bring in some liquid glue just to give me a little bit of grace, and you'll see that in just a second. Now I'm going to put that panel right onto my card base, just like so. So far I feel like I'm walking on the clouds. I think I'm going to do this great card. I'm thinking, Bethany, you have a great idea. This is so cute. It's going to look awesome. And I'm quickly finding out, just stick with me, I'm quickly finding out though that you can't see it at all. And I think it's because, and I've done eclipse cards so many times, but I think it's because of the pattern. Usually when I do an eclipse card, I have more solid color behind, and this time I have a nice little pattern and it makes it hard. Now, when you hold it up though, see, I'm convincing myself that I did it right here. I'm convincing myself you can indeed see it, but you can only really see it when you're holding it up, and once it's laid down flat or you're looking straight on, you're completely losing the whole effect. So what I decided to do was, because I didn't have cardstock that was going to match my ink colors perfectly, I went ahead and grabbed my actual ink pads, and I'm just dragging them across a piece of 180 pound cardstock, and I'm essentially just making some colored cardstock for myself. So I'm going to repeat that with all of the colors that I used for my background. So that was Cheeky, Melon, and Lemonade, and I'm going to use these to then cut out that same hello, and then I will go ahead and just glue these to the top. And it does turn out looking so much better. This is just one of those things where your idea in your mind thinks it's going to look so good, but then once you try it, you find that it wasn't the best technique, at least for this stamp set or for patterns in general. So I quickly went ahead and just did the colors right on top, and it turned out much better. I then added a little bit of fun sequins. I love this sequins because it kind of takes the color of the back of the card, and it turned out great. I hope you enjoyed this. Please let me know down below, and I can't wait to see you in the next video. Have a fun day.